Hello everyone, my name is Alice Perjean of Knowthyselfandheal.com. Thank you for joining me as we move into this Gemini full moon that is occurring on December 7th, 2022 at 11:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so you can translate that to whatever time zone that you're in. So we all know that a full moon means that the moon is opposing the sun. And at the moment, or at the full moon, that means that the sun's going to be at 16 degrees and 2 minutes of Sagittarius, and the moon is at Gemini, 16 degrees, 2 minutes, right? So the moon opposing the sun. We know the sun, as it ingresses into each sign, it begins to shine its light on that particular archetypal consciousness. So the sun's been shining a light on our own Sagittarius consciousness. So this is where we are working with our Sagittarius consciousness. And what is that? Well, that would be really our belief structures, our philosophy of life, what it is that we've learned that has informed what we believe, and what is personally true for us, and what supports us in our own evolutionary journey. So those beliefs that support us in our own value system and evolutionary journey in the exploration of consciousness. And I always like to think of Sagittarius as adventures in consciousness. So it's all about the adventure, it's about the journey and self-discovery within that. And when the moon is in Gemini, opposing the sun and Sagittarius, this is going to be where we're really exploring our emotional nature in regards to these themes. And when we're talking about Sagittarius and Gemini, this is always going to be the exploration of truth versus lies. So we're really looking to learning about different points of view and different information that can support us on our own adventure in consciousness, and that also, sometimes do give opposing points of view in all kinds of various points of view. And ultimately, with our Sagittarius consciousness, this is where, in this exploration with Gemini, and really looking at all these different points of view, different pieces of information, different communications, different perceptions, we really then come to know what it is that's going to support us on our own evolutionary journey. So with this full moon, with an opposition, this always implies that there could be things in the outside world that is reflecting back to us our own relationship to different belief structures, maybe different belief structures we've had in the past and that have supported us thus far, and maybe belief structures we've never really related to that are reflected through others. But with always oppositions, it is an opportunity really to clarify what it is that supports us personally and what actually doesn't support us personally, even though some things that do not support us may support others in their own evolutionary journey. And so with full moons, we know it can bring up the emotional nature. So this can bring up our own sensing through our feelings, right? So really sensing through our emotions and what we're feeling, and getting the opportunity to really, again, look at our own perceptions, thoughts, what it is that informs our belief structures and our own responses to different points of view. So interestingly, this particular full moon, Mars is in a conjunction, or I should say the moon is in a conjunction with Mars. So the moon is in a balsamic or completing conjunction with Mars. And with this particular configuration, we're fusing together this internal emotional realm with Mars. And we know Mars can be this instinctual nature to move in the direction that it desires to move. It is always informed by Pluto, what is unconscious. And so this can really bring a very instinctual response to emotions at the full moon and leading up to the full moon and maybe a little after the full moon, right? So we can really be sensing this desire to move in new directions. It can be sensing this irritation to whatever it is that is bubbling up at the moment at the full moon. And so this can also be this part of our consciousness that can project onto things very quickly. So Mars does act on behalf of Pluto. It acts on behalf of what's unconscious. And remember, what is unconscious is always the desire or the primal instincts in which we perceive our personal survival and thrival. So Mars, when it feels uncomfortable, it can lash out. It can get angry or irritated or frustrated. And so we can be experiencing this in ourselves or others in the outside world, where there is this potential for aggression or projection. Can also be potential for arrogance and really projecting one's own belief structures onto others, onto situations and circumstances that may be happening. But it can also, in those experiences, bring us the opportunities to see where it is that we may feel uncomfortable and not emotionally secure in whatever environment we find ourselves in. And we can actually utilize these experiences for self-reflection and to actually move inward in our consciousness and really look at what it is that we could understand about ourselves and understand about what is being reflected in the outside world through other circumstances, situations that could be informing us on our own emotional security and relationship to our personal beliefs. So one thing that I find really interesting about this full moon is that Mercury is in Capricorn, and it is square Jupiter in Pisces. Jupiter's at, let's see, where is Jupiter? Jupiter's at 29 degrees and 9 minutes of Pisces. It's at its anaretic degree, the last degree of the sign. And this is a really great opportunity to be really looking at, again, what your perceptions, thoughts, beliefs are in regards to your own emotional security, in letting go of beliefs that do not support you personally, or also where it is you'd like to funnel your consciousness and what beliefs no longer support that in your evolutionary momentum of the now. And so the Mercury square anytime you have a square, this can imply pressure. There can be challenging communications, challenging experiences in the ways in which one is perceiving things, thinking about things, and believing about things. And yet the pressure is an opportunity to harness that for one's own evolutionary momentum. So the Mercury square Jupiter can be really, really helpful, especially because Jupiter is at the end of the Piscean consciousness and it's going to move into Aries. So after this full moon, this really implies that after the full moon, we're really going to be able to move forward with our own personal beliefs that really serve our own personal identity. And we can be having experiences that assist us to do that at the full moon. And we can be having communications that assist us to do that. Different thoughts and being exposed maybe to different belief structures that would assist us in letting go of belief structures that really do not support us now. So this is going to require self-honesty and honesty with others as well. Because Sagittarius and Gemini is about truth versus lies, this is really about, being in alignment with our natural self, being in alignment with our personal truth. If we are in alignment with our personal truth, and we are honest about our personal truth, then we are aligning with the evolutionary momentum that we personally desire. And so whatever it is that's occurring at the full moon can be very helpful in actually moving on from circumstances, situations, maybe even relationships that are not resonant with our personal need for freedom to explore different belief systems, thoughts, perceptions, ideas, so that we can be in alignment with our own personal truth. And so it is, as I said, going to be really helpful for us to really be honest so that we can move forward in new ways that help us to align with our new values. Venus is at the end of Sagittarius. It's at 27 degrees, 30 minutes. So it's beginning to culminate its time in Sagittarius. And so this exploration of how our beliefs are really, how are they resonant with our values? How are they not resonant with our values? Because if our beliefs are not resonant with what we really value, there is a disconnect with being able to attract that which we value and that which we love. So this is an awesome opportunity to really look at, maybe there's thoughts, perceptions, beliefs that really are not yours or are not current for you and that do not align with your own values now, your own loves now. So Uranus is still conjunct the North Node in Taurus. So again, heightening this sense of self-love, self-value, really having insights around our own values and what we love now and what we desire now. So one of the things I wanted to bring up too is Gemini is always going to be about siblings, neighbors, communications, your immediate community, and as we talked about, perceptions, communications, and thoughts. And then Sagittarius is going to be your beliefs that are solidified through all of those avenues of exploring Gemini consciousness. Remembering that Mars is retrograde in Gemini. And so this is giving us the opportunity to notice where it is that we are easy to project our own perceptions onto situations, and where it is that we can also be looking at potential habits or things that we choose to think habitually or perceive habitually or communicate to ourselves and others habitually that are really not serving the quality of consciousness we desire, as well as the explorations of consciousness that we desire. So I wanted to mention that Mercury is going to be coming into its pre-shadow on December 13th. And so pay attention to what's coming up for you in the pre-shadow phase before it goes retrograde at 24 degrees of Capricorn on December 29th. And it's going to go direct at 8 degrees of Capricorn on January 19th. And then it's going to be in its post-shadow all the way until February 8th. So just to give you a little heads up on the upcoming Mercury retrograde, I will come and do a video about that. So we'll talk more about that. I love working with Mercury retrogrades because it is an opportunity to rewire the synapses of the brain. And so we'll talk more about that in that video. And so you can really work with the Mercury retrogrades. And so notice what's coming up for you in this full moon. And because it is a full moon that's ruled by Mercury, you know, notice what's happening for you and what is it that you would like to rewire in your own brain synapses. Maybe, as I said, habits or instinctual responses to perceptions, communications, ideas, thoughts, and beliefs that you would like to change. Because with Mercury retrogrades, you can work with those to rewire those instinctual responses. Because remember, the more that we do things over and over again, we actually form, the synapses of the brain form these connections in the brain. And so this is how it's so easy to project onto things based on the synapses that are already in our brain. So we can keep projecting situations over and over again and then reinforcing them over and over again. And so I love working with the Mercury retrogrades and really looking at, you know, how can we change our perceptions, look at things in new ways, respond to things in new ways, think new thoughts, and really explore what's going on in the unconscious in regards to why we would think specific things, believe specific things, and keep reinforcing specific beliefs, thoughts, and perceptions that are really not resonant with how we desire to cultivate our consciousness, to create evolutionary momentum in our lives. And so we'll talk more about that as we approach Mercury retrograde and in that video. But I wanted to go ahead and give you a heads up for this full moon, because you could really be utilizing this full moon to actually notice what's coming up for you and notice what it is that you desire to make changes to in your own thoughts, perceptions, beliefs, and your instincts in regards to those as well. So I hope this is helpful. If you find it helpful, please do like it, like the video, share the video. And also, of course, I would always love to hear your thoughts, perceptions, and experiences if you feel like sharing in the comments. So please do. And may this be a really wonderful full moon for you. and enlightening full moon for you. And I'll see you in the next video.